induced psychosis, a form of schizophrenia. It used to be in the DSM-V as something called dementia praecox. It's not natural to be jealous, right? But what's natural, and this is what make men clash at the top, it's natural for a person with royal blood to seek the most prominent royal position. In the military structure, when we fighting war, it's natural for a general to try to take the lead in war. And sometimes the general that's leading the war, if he don't agree with his war philosophy, he would try to overthrow him or oust him because he believes he can be more effective in war. This is an idea that's exploited in studying warfare. This is why you study the leadership of warfare and the fall of the leaders before you, because then you get to see the power dynamic from an unbiased perspective. The problem is we have a tendency to take sides in historical matters before we have enough facts to come into a competent conclusion, right? So you study all of the warfare you can, you still might not get to all of the facts you need, but you will get an idea of what's being done on the battlefields of life, right? And then you look in places to gather intelligence that regular people won't look. So you see somebody like me reading Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible, but that's not my philosophy. But it got some good stuff in there, right? Chaos Magic say if it's some good stuff there, I can use it as long as it works. The ability to lead, sometimes people want the leadership position so bad that it drives them to a euphoria. Now, it's a spirit moving that normally does this. Because you ain't where you supposed to be, spirit gonna keep pushing you to seek that spot or to get taken out of the game. And this how you had leaders falling all over the land for the last 75 years in mass. Because other leaders being misled think they got the solution and all they doing is creating more problems.
Hey, Rod, I noticed, okay, like another thing about women, okay, women and the moon and the connection with the moon. The moon is feminine. We're dealing with, in some cases on the negative backside, we're dealing with lunatics. You look up the word, and they say that's connected with the moon, right? And if you look up lunatic, it says a person with mental illness. But and the women's menstrual cycle is connected with the water and the moon. And they said that the moon control the water. So could you go in on a connection with the lady chiefs and her rule and dealing with the moon as we go into the sun cycle? Like, so is the women switching? I know the woman is the sun and the moon connection. They were the sun and the moon. But as we go into this sun phase, could you go in on the women transferring from a higher power? Because I think they go into the women go into a higher energy.
Okay, so one correction is the women energy is that black stuff you see in outer space.
Mm-hmm. Dark
dark, yeah. But it's also melanin.
Go ahead.
Right, but when it's being activated with creative potential, it becomes something called Shakti.
Yeah, I heard that.
Shakti is the energy required for creation to be here. It's divine feminine energy active. Creator goddess energy. Mm-hmm. Right? And the sun is the potency of the ruler god. Mm-hmm. And the ruler god is to maintain order in his solar system. Mm-hmm. Right? So the creator god produce the ruler god to govern over the system, the solar system in case of the sun. But Big Mama, dark matter, the dark mother, is always watching and forever present.
Go ahead.
Right? Because anytime that the ruler god go rogue, he goes supernova, or he become what's called a dwarf star. He implodes, right? But he got to be reset because he out of control. His energy is out of balance, right? So he either gonna explode and go supernova, or he gonna implode and become a dwarf. But he's still gonna be a star.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hey, Rod, do you think that religion, especially Christianity, because even in Christianity, in Islam too, they talk about how the woman is supposed to stay in her place and all this. But in Christianity, if you go into the New Testament and Paul's books, he talk about that women shouldn't be speaking up in church. And
Paul was a homosexual, first of all, so of course he don't want the woman to speak up because it's going to expose him for the 40 years.
Go ahead. So, like, just to hit the second part of my question. So they got rid of ISIS, and they said the Father, the Son, then the Holy Ghost. So they got rid of the woman. So do you think that Christianity is one of the main factors in trying to uproot the matriarch? Because I mean, but then secretly they worship the matriarch. That's the backwards. Like they up in there with the Black Madonna. You go ahead.
Yeah, well, you got to remember the Pope seat sit on the Big Mama seat. That's called usurper. He's undermining Big Mama the whole time, right? They took Vatica, was the goddess that the Vatican is named after. This is also matriarchal order. They slaughtered the priestess at Adelphi, the oracles, right? This is all historical record. Everywhere they seen the wise women, they called them witches and set them aflame on the stake. This was done through the church, right? There's a different type of oppression in Islam of the woman. And theirs come out of where Abraham is going to Egypt and he tells Sarah to cover your face lest they see your beauty and they slay me for you. It didn't have nothing to do with the women being out of control and everything to do with the men being out of control. So since the men was out of control, instead of correcting the men, it's easier to cover the woman. Conceal that which you do not want to be seen by others. Right? And so the war against the feminine is at the point, ground zero of Islam, Mecca. The black cube is the uterus, the black stone is the vagina. Right? The original goddess was elect. They turned her into the daughter of Allah in order to put the patriarchy in a superior position. So you can see the fingerprints of the war against the divine feminine in every religion. Right? They don't want to deal with structure and order for men. They rather deal with concealment and cover of women.
Wow.
But in a real civilized country, the woman didn't have to walk around with no clothes on. Because wasn't nothing going to happen to her.
Right.
Right? But when you go around uncivilized men, you have to conceal your woman.
That's right.
All of those religions is a war on women. And the main reason you know that Christianity is the war on women is because Jesus is Isis in Greek.
Go ahead.
The New Testament was written in Greek. So they concealed in the mother. This is why they say the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost is Isis.
Yeah.
Because the spirit, as spiritus, the breath, rides in by the magnetic pull of the mitochondria.
Yeah.
The powerhouse. Electromagnetism. Right? And you can only get mitochondria from the woman. Hail Mary, Mother of God. What the hell that make her?
Right.
Creator God giving birth to ruler God.
Go ahead.
Right? They tell you it's two people in the story, but you ain't pay attention because Emmanuel's name is only mentioned one. The Son. They only mention his name one time on his birth. The Immaculate Conception. Right? But they don't talk about him no more because his mama is doing her work. Isis, who y'all call Jesus. Right? So when they call her Jesus, this is how they know all of the people with them stringy beards and hippie haircuts ain't Jesus, because they know in the secret societies that Jesus is a woman.
Right.
So whoever come in talking about they Jesus and they looking like a man, they know he of automatic fraud. and that's going to get you killed quicker than what you, or arrested quicker than you can imagine. Labeled a cult leader and tore down. Don't nobody want to just go to the Greek and see where Jesus is ISIS. And so they overlook it because of doctrine. The structure and the order by which the doctrine must be given in a manner that could subdue the minds of the people. Your genetic memory, remember the story. So you're drawn to it. But your intellectual prowess is arrested development through the 12-step thinking detox called school. So now they're able to fascinate your mind with a fairy tale mixed with truth. And now you can't figure out exactly what you're hearing. You know the story, so you believe the narrative.
Right.
Because it's part of who you are, the holy drama. But since we don't remember the holy drama, the Usurian resurrection story, we go with the resurrection story they gave us in the false messiah they painted for us, Caesar Borgia.
Right. Hey, Rod, that brings me to my next question. And we're going to take questions from the crowd for you, you lady chiefs that was asking the questions on my others live. And I told you I'm going to get Rod on. We're going to take some of y'all questions in a minute. Hey, Rod, could you go in on the power that Big Mother had to raise 3 and 4 generations of kids? Like my Big Mama, I know she raised at least 4, like even a generation after my generation, she raised some of them kids. Could you go in on what gave Big Mama that power to where she can? I mean, I know what gave her the power. I don't know if I'm wording that right, but what type of energy did Big Mama have to be able to take care of 4 generations of kids? Her kids, they kids, and they kids, etc. Go ahead.
It's only 2 things: love and experience. She loved her family, and she got the experience of raising children from the mistakes she made raising her own. And when she raised grandchildren, she refined it even more. By the time she get to great grands, it's a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Now she can sit there and tell the young mother everything to do to make her life easier as a mother because she had the most experience. That experience is her training program for being Big Mama. She had to go through the ringer when she was younger in order to develop the asset skills and development when she was mature. And all of the time, like my mama been building our family unity since she was a little girl. She was destined to be a Big Mama one day. Right? And she was the one that all her sisters used to call. No matter what the problem was, Shirley know how to fix it.
Oh, Shirley.
And my mama might not have knew how to fix it, but she said, let me think on it for a minute and I'm going to figure something out. And she always figured something out.
Fire. That's fire, right? That's a brilliant answer, right? Like you can't. That was just divine truth right there. How big you said experience and love. That is just straight up raw and uncut truth right there. That Big Mama was able to do that. And Big Mama also fed communities. Because my Big Mama used to cook. Every time she cooked, she cook enough for a football team every time. Like you go.
It's funny you say that because if the rumor got out that my mama was cooking some greens this weekend,
Yeah,
I guarantee you it's gonna be people from Chicago, Grand Rapids, Detroit, all over Michigan. We gonna have both sides of the street. One side of our street no parking, right? But
yeah,
both sides of the street gonna have cars parked all up and down the block.
yeah. Come and get a plate,
They come to get a plate.
man.
My mama couldn't cook in no regular old pot. She had to use military pots. She used to have to cook like she cooking for the military, and that it didn't last.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't hardly ever get to throw no food away because it was, till we got older and everybody started wanting fast food, but couldn't nobody out cook my mama.
That's deep. Hey man, so I noticed this too. Back in the day, like when we was dealing with Jim Crow and everything, and it's a question really. We was dealing with Jim Crow and segregation and how they was treating us. But I noticed Big Mama still got respect from like the chief of Ku Clan, police, like, and then some of them cats, man, they would come by Big Mama house to get a plate. Some of them white guys, and then Big Mama said, "I raised him." Like the white boy, I said, I raised that white boy. You know what I'm saying? That's why he like that, But what type of energy is that Big Mama had that type of respect, even from the most racist guys in town? You know what I'm saying?
Most of them was only racist for public opinion, especially when they had one of our big mamas was their nanny. They would go at your head faster than us about our own big mama. Right? So the society was racist. They had racist laws on the book that they had to follow, which gave a social conditioning to a racist psychology. Racism is an artificial construct. And they made skin color the foundation of racism when everybody the same skin color ain't the same race. Right? So racism in and of itself is flawed. The whole philosophy of racism is flawed. But when you say skin-based racism, we are shades of wheat. And if you ain't light enough wheat, you can't participate in the society. That was all done by your so-called political Masons and Shriners in order to facilitate the George Washington Challenge. That's why the legal term for white people didn't exist in law until 1681. It wasn't part of our reality before that. Skin-based racism was not a thing before that. Right? And it didn't become enforceable until after the Civil War. Right? And how they enforced it, this is when they started to import pale faces from Europe. So now they can cover up the dirty hand by putting the pale face up as being the ones that did everything before 1681, and they wasn't even here yet.
Hey, Rob, my next question, that's fire. My next question I got for you is about, okay, so like back in the day, we still dealing with the feminine energy, and we're talking about lady chiefs. But I want to stimulate towards the white women back in the day that started all these things like Rosewood, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was dealing around a white woman. Now, what's interesting, I did this tape the other day about this guy, Robert F. Williams, who was a guy that said we're going to match lynching with lynching, right? I think you told me about the guy. That's why I did a tape on, right? Now, a white girl kissed two black boys, and the black boys wasn't like asking for no kissing. They just walking down the street. She just walk up and kiss them, and she go tell her mother, and her mother calls the cops, and these guys get arrested and slammed into prison. What type of ideology were they on with this white girl get touched, white girl get kissed? It happened to Emmett Till. And then she come clean on her deathbed and said Emmett Till wasn't doing nothing. But what type of game is that for them to run with the white girl?
It serves several purposes, right? So go back if you want to understand it a little better. Read J. Rogers, Nature Knows No Color Line, Sex and Race, and Superman the Man. Right? You got to understand what's the psychological game being played. It's a reverse psychology. Also, that goes along with that is your Walter Plecker and your all of these racial purists or eugenics movement. Now, it's a psychology that comes from that when they couldn't get the guys in the tribes to associate with the women that needed the drop of blood. So they reverse psychology, they make them become the standard of protection, which makes them the beauty standard. But all of their beauty standard is to imitate the system. Right? So by telling the guys what he can't have, it make it become more desirable to the guy. Can't have that. Right? So it was a reverse psychology at play in order for them to get their one drop of blood. Remember, they was allowed to get their one drop of blood by any means necessary. This is why your so-called plantation rapes, them wasn't the plantation owners that was doing all that raping, them was the management team of pale-faced Europeans. And part of his payment was he had to have fornication rights under the king. Fuck rights. And that was part of the distribution of the booty in war. Right? So the dirty Moor whose sweetheart